So I talk a lot about hinge cutting trees and making hinge cut bedding areas. Really, all a hinge cut bedding area is copying nature when we have windfall trees. But what if you've had a storm go through and you have tons of windfall trees? Well, that's what I'm doing today on this property. We're working to make these windfall trees work for us. So let me show you how to create a windfall bedding area. All right, so I got two bedding knolls here. These are windfall trees. Wind took them down. This is nature's hinge cut right here. So what was the name of the game? Clear a path for the deer. I'm using that tree right there, made a canopied bed right there. But the biggest thing we did in this area was make trails. That's a little bit low, but we still cleared out. They can still get under there. But we cut trails all the way through this. And we cut it back. I mean, look at how thick it is. That's what it looked like before we got in here. There's no way that a deer could utilize this. So we just used these trees to our advantage, cut holes in them, and created deer beds. So here's a particular deer bed that I made. Now I honed in on this one because this is a south-facing slope. I was able to cut an entrance into it right here. Got one right here. I got an escape cutting out that way and an escape cutting out that way. So I got 4 good escapes out of this bed. Big flat spot. 3 nice balsam firs right here. It's a little bit of thermal cover just below the rise or the crest of the hill. So this is where the deer want to be, and it's a flat spot. So I cleared it all out. Now check out that view. You can see what's coming from that direction, that direction. Got a northwest blowing over your back, or the deer's back. So consent check from behind. I mean, this is a great spot, especially a great spot for the fall, in particular the rut here. Well, I'm in Wisconsin today, but northwest wind, when we get those cold fronts, a deer's gonna bed here because it's a bulletproof bedding spot. So this is an awesome, awesome location, but I honed in on this spot because of the terrain. All right, here's another bed that I cleared out. There's my windfall tree. And there's the bed. Again, got an escape cutting out that direction. Nice escape out that way. We got a good overhead canopy with this beautifully hinged tree. Not by me, but by nature. All right, as you get up in here, you can see all kinds of little spots for bedding. A beautiful spot right here. Again, cleared it all back. The tools that we used, had the chainsaw, had the backpack blower in here, which is awesome. Really, really nice tool to have, and had a brush head on the weed whip. A steel FS 131, that works great. And cleared the path. This is a sweet little bedding knoll. So this is actually going to end up being part of the bedding area. I'll just have the landowner seed this part down in clover. But this is way too nice a topography to not utilize it. There was a trail cutting right through this great topography over here and over here, so we decided to get rid of the trail. He'll seed this down, and we'll just let nature start to fill it in. All right, so I'm going into the other side of the trail here. Again, this was cut back. We did spray it, even though we cut it back pretty hard, so... Well, what was that? That was a turkey. Anyway, it's best to let it sprout back, but we had everything here today, so we'll see. It'll kill it back enough to get the deer starting to use it. But yeah, we had the backpack. We had 3 guys working, so everybody had a role. But nice big open trails. Here's a really cool windfall bed. I don't know if it's windfell, you know, you fell a tree. Windfall just doesn't sound right. But here's a sweet, sweet potential bed. And again, this whole area was trashed. But you get in here, I mean, look at this overlook. Couple good escapes this way. You can cut out front. I made a trail. You can cut out that direction. And this is everything you want in a deer bed. Alright, so here's just a little travel corridor that I cut in, linking the two bedding knolls. And those guys did a great job clearing this back. Again, that blower works really well. It's a nice tool to have for jobs like this. Now this one, what we'll do is, because this has already been sprayed back, it's bare dirt, this one will get seeded in clover. Now the reason why we're using clover on this property is because there is a lot of natural bedding in here, so we want to give them something different in these bedding areas, something that's going to stand out against the neighbors. I've been experimenting a lot with adding a clover chicory combination into the bedding areas, and it really does help. And there's a lot. I know the big argument is, well, then the deer will never leave the bedding. We have uber attractive food that's going into the main plots, so I am not worried about that on our farm. I have not seen that to be an issue when I seed the bedding areas. So this one will get seeded, because I'd rather have the deer hanging out in here. Even if they did hang out in here a little bit longer, at least they're on this property as opposed to being on the neighbors. So with this one, there's some really nice bedding spots. Again, isolated conifers. I tend to hone in on these spots. We got a bed right there, bed right here, and again, a really nice lookout. Little escape even cut in out that direction. Just an absolutely sweet little bedding knoll. Look at how thick that was before we came in here. Like, this is not beddable. We think of thick as being good, which it is, but that is impenetrable. Deer cannot utilize that. We are going to use that as our side structure, but we're going to give them space to actually lay down in the rest of this bedding area. If we would have done nothing, this would have been worthless space. In spite of all the great food, this is all native plants here, which is awesome. But they couldn't get to it. So we had to cut these trails in and give them spots to actually be able to lie down, because it was impossible before we busted out the chainsaws. Here's another cool little bedding spot. It was pretty fun. We were looking at these conifers when we were kind of working our way in right over here. And this was all just a thick, nasty jungle. And we're deciding, where do we want to make a bed? And I was like, geez, that looks like a spot a deer would want a bed. And I kicked the pile of trash that was there, and a shed came flying out. So that was pretty cool. So there was a buck that bedded there at one point in time. But again, trails kind of weaving all the way through this. And we have these trails kicking. They all kind of pinch down and kick out right in front of a bow stand. So, and the bow stand's on the downwind side. If it was a northwest wind, it's on the southeast side of the bedding. So we can catch those bucks working the back side of this, scent checking for does. And we do have trails working all the way along the back side of this that'll kick out close to that bow stand. So always trying to think what's the best setup to not just hold the deer, but intercept that buck that we're looking for. So again, if you've had a big storm go through, don't worry. Start making that storm work for you. All those down trees can be beneficial. It is a ton of work. It's not easy going into windfall areas and cleaning it up. It takes a lot of time. But once you start punching holes in that stuff. Use the trees that are tipped over, that are naturally hinged. You can make some pretty sweet bedding areas. And that's what we're working on in this property. This property is loaded actually with a lot of good potential bedding locations, but we don't have to drop a lot of trees. Because if you look up, well, maybe not right here, I gotta get a little further. There's plenty of holes in the canopy, so we're getting tons of regen. We just need to start, there we go, nice hole in the canopy. We just need to start cutting trails through this stuff, find those nice terrain features that deer want to bed on, and give them space to bed. That's why we honed in on these spots, because they're basically two knolls, two high points in the property that were completely trashed. So we cut them in, and the rest is up to the deer. So anyway, all right, y'all take care. God bless.